Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today, we're going back in time
Okay.
to 1840s England.
All right.
Now, you might think you know this era, with all the Victorian novels, and
Right.
the bustling cities, but we're going to challenge those assumptions today.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love a good challenge.
So our guide for this journey is Raymond Williams,
Okay.
and his book, The Analysis of Culture.
All right.
And he uses the 1840s
Yes.
as a case study to show how culture really works.
That's fascinating.
And we've got some really amazing
Cool.
primary sources to unpack it all.
I love it.
Newspapers, novels, even architecture.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting one.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I found really fascinating
Okay.
is that Williams highlights
Yeah.
this idea of a selective tradition,
Okay.
which is how what we think of as the 1840s has already been heavily edited
Oh, that's interesting.
by time and perspective.
So it's like we're getting
Yeah.
someone else's version of.
Yeah, someone's already curated the story for us,
Right.
but they might have missed some key details.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Precisely.
So, for example, newspapers.
Yes.
Now, we tend to think of the Times
yeah.
as the newspaper of the era.
The big one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in reality, Sunday papers were
Oh, wow.
real mass market hits.
Interesting.
So imagine headlines like, "Daring Conspiracy
What?
and Attempted Violation"
Oh, my God.
across the front page.
Oh.
So very different from the serious tone
So-
of the Times.
Totally.
What?
So while the intellectuals are debating,
Yeah.
the average person is reading about.
Yeah, like scandal and intrigue.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, so it paints a much different picture
It does.
of what people were actually reading.
Yeah, and it's not just newspapers.
Oh.
This selective tradition, it also applies to literature.
Okay, how so?
Well, yes, Dickens was popular, but the most widely read authors on those
Okay.
newly built railways were G.P.R. James
I've never heard of him.
and Edward Bulwer Lytton.
Me neither.
Exactly.
Wow.
And then there's another layer to this.
Okay.
A thriving market for what Williams delicately calls less reputable books,
Okay.
which basically means they were exploring
Yeah.
taboo topics,
Right.
and these were hugely popular.
Wow. So we're only getting a very partial view
Yeah.
of the 1840s.
It's like a very carefully curated selection
Yeah.
that doesn't show the full picture.
Yeah. So it makes me rethink everything I thought I knew
I know.
about the 1840s.
It really changes your perspective, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah, and when we dig deeper, we discover
Okay.
that the 1840s were a time of immense change.
Oh, really?
It's like society was a pressure cooker about to burst.
Okay. Well, from the sources that I've seen,
Yeah,
it does seem like everything was happening at once.
go on.
So you've got debates over free trade.
Yeah.
A new Tory party is emerging, led by Disraeli.
Right.
The Chartists are demanding greater rights for the working class.
Yeah.
There's a push for factory regulation. There's a struggle to improve public health.
I see.
So England's transforming at a dizzying pace.
Like a whirlwind.
Yeah, and amidst all of this,
Yes.
you've got the rise of mass-produced culture,
Oh, wow.
which is really interesting.
That is.
So you've got cheap novels,
Okay.
new theaters popping up,
Wow.
and the music halls becoming more and more popular.
Imagine the energy of
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah.
It must have been incredible.
Yeah, it sounds like a time of immense possibility,
Yeah.
but also deep uncertainty.
Absolutely.
So in all of that change and upheaval, Williams identifies this tension
Okay.
between what he calls social character
Okay.
and lived experience.
Okay. So what does he mean by that?
So social character is basically the dominant values that a society promotes
Okay.
and celebrates. So in the 1840s, this meant an emphasis on hard work,
Right.
self-reliance,
Okay.
strict morality, and this idea that financial success
Makes sense.
is the ultimate measure of a person.
It's like the pull yourself up by your bootstraps mentality.
It really is, yeah. But Williams argues that this idealized social character often clashed with the reality of people's lives.
Right.
So while the middle class
Yeah.
may have embraced these values,
Uh-huh.
other groups struggled to
Right.
reconcile them with their own experiences.
Yeah, because it's like this narrative of
Yeah.
success, but it doesn't always match up
Exactly.
with what people are actually going through.
So beneath the surface of this seemingly unified social character,
Right.
there were deeper tensions.
Absolutely.
Like contradictions simmering.
Yeah, take the aristocracy, for example.
Right.
They were on the decline,
Right.
but still clinging to their own set of values.
Okay, what kind of values?
Well, they placed more emphasis on birth over money.
Okay.
Leisure as an essential part of life.
Right.
And generally had a more relaxed approach.
Interesting.
To
social rules.
Okay, so it's like two different versions
right.
of society trying to coexist.
It's like a clash of ideals.
Exactly.
And then you have the working class who are becoming increasingly aware of their own identity and their own interests.
So you have all these different groups, each with their own values and aspirations.
They're all
trying to navigate this rapidly changing world.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
It's like a giant social experiment.
It is.
In real time.
Yeah, and to understand how this all unfolded, we need to look at how these groups interacted.
Right.
And how their experiences shaped the culture.
Yeah, I think we're about to uncover.
I think so, too.
Some really hidden layers.
Yeah.
Of 1840s society.
Let's do it.
Okay, I'm ready.
Let's go. So we've got this like fascinating mix of social classes and values swirling around in 1840s England.
It's a melting pot.
Yeah, it really is.
Of all these different perspectives.
Yeah, and it's clear that that idealized social character that we were talking about didn't always match up with the realities of people's lives.
It's messy.
Yeah, it is. So where do we see that tension play out?
One of the most revealing places to look is in the literature of the time.
So even in like the fun escapist novels?
Yeah, even the...
Okay, you can
so how can a fun novel reflect those deeper tensions?
Even in those like lighter works, you see this preoccupation with debt and financial ruin.
Really?
Yeah.
So despite the emphasis on hard work and morality leading to wealth, there's this underlying anxiety that even those who play by the rules can still be brought down.
Yeah, it's like a shadow.
Why?
Lurking beneath the surface.
Wow.
So it's not just a plot device.
No, it reflects a real fear that was in society at the time.
Yeah, this is an era of like rapid economic change.
Yeah, industrialization.
And shifting social structures.
People felt like they were losing control over their own destinies.
So it makes sense that those anxieties would appear in the stories.
Absolutely.
Even if they were just meant to be fun.
Right, and that's where those coping mechanisms come in.
Okay, so remind me about those.
The unexpected legacies.
Right.
And the escape to the empire.
Yeah, so it's like offering a way to resolve those tensions.
Yeah, to provide closure.
But it's artificial.
Yeah, it's like...
It's papering over the cracks.
Exactly.
But they're still there.
Oh, absolutely.
Underneath.
And what's interesting is how different writers handled those cracks.
Okay.
So some embrace the conventions of the time.
Right.
Using them to create... satisfying but maybe superficial resolutions.
Okay.
But others use those conventions to explore the deeper complexities of human experience.
So it's like they're using the same ingredients.
Exactly.
But creating different dishes.
Yeah, and that's where we see the genius of writers like Emily Bronte.
Okay.
Her novel Wuthering Heights.
Yeah, I love that one.
It breaks free from those formulas.
Okay.
To expose like the raw intensity of emotion.
Right.
That the dominant social character tried to suppress.
I've always found Wuthering Heights to be a wild ride.
It is.
Full of passion and drama.
So how does it challenge those societal expectations?
Okay.
Well, instead of neat resolutions and happy endings, Bronte presents us with these complex characters driven by powerful emotions, love, revenge, jealousy.
Right.
And these emotions aren't neatly contained or controlled.
Okay.
They spill over and disrupt the social order.
So it's very different.
It's a far cry from that sanitized, morally upright world that we see in other novels.
So other writers are using these devices, like unexpected legacies, to smooth over the rough edges of society. And then Bronte comes in and just exposes all of that.
She's like, look, this is the reality.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating is even in the novels that do adhere to those formulas, there's often a sense of something deeper. More unsettling. Think about the recurring characters in Dickens and the Brontes. The orphans, the outcasts, the lonely figures, yearning for connection. These characters embody the anxieties of the era.
So they represent like
yes.
an unspoken truth.
They give voice to the individuals who didn't fit in.
Yeah.
To that idealized social character.
Wow. And it's amazing how these simple stories can still resonate with us today.
They tap into something fundamental.
Yeah, those feelings of isolation and longing.
About the human experience.
Are so universal.
Exactly.
Makes me think about our own time.
Okay.
Like, what are the anxieties, the hidden struggles that are shaping our culture today?
What stories are we telling ourselves?
Yeah, what are we choosing to ignore?
Those are great questions.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of studying history. It gives us that lens to examine our own present.
So it's like holding up a mirror.
Exactly.
But with a historical twist.
And just like in the 1840s,
yeah,
there are those dominant narratives, selective traditions at play in our own culture.
So it's our job to be critical thinkers.
To question those narratives, dig deeper, uncover the hidden stories.
So it reminds me that history isn't just a collection of facts.
It's a living, breathing tapestry of human experience.
But we've been so focused on the literary scene that we've forgotten about the advancement.
In industry and engineering, the 1840s were a period of unprecedented technological progress.
Like those massive railway projects.
Exactly.
Crisscrossing the country.
Yeah, the factories springing up.
It must have been exhilarating.
It was a time of upheaval, but also of possibility.
Right. And those advancements had such a profound impact.
They shaped everything.
On culture?
Yeah, from how people lived and worked.
To how they consume entertainment?
To how they interacted with each other.
It's like a ripple effect.
It is.
Touching every aspect of life.
And alongside those innovations, you had the rise of new social movements and institutions.
Like the trade unions fighting for workers' rights?
Yes. The reform movements pushing for social change.
Right. And the organizations advocating for improvements in public health.
Exactly.
And education.
People working to shape the future.
It's inspiring to see that.
It is.
In all of that change, there were people
committed to making a difference.
Who were committed to making the world a better place.
And they laid the groundwork for progress in later decades.
So while we've been talking about novels, there was this whole other layer
of cultural activity going on.
Yeah, people building railroads.
Organizing unions.
Right, advocating for reforms.
Trying to shape the future.
Yeah, and it's important to remember that these weren't happening in isolation.
They were all interconnected.
Yeah, it's like this giant web.
It is like a giant puzzle.
Yeah, with all these interconnected threads.
And each piece reveals a new layer of understanding.
I'm starting to see how understanding the cultural landscape
of the 1840s
can help make sense.
It's like looking in a distorted mirror.
Of our own time.
Yeah, seeing our own anxieties and aspirations reflected back.
That's a great way to put it.
And just like the people of the 1840s, we're shaping their world.
We had the power to shape ours.
By understanding how culture worked then,
we can become
more conscious.
More conscious and engaged.
Participants in creating the future.
That's a powerful thought.
It is.
I think we'll want to explore that further.
Yeah. Gather our thoughts and then delve into some final reflections.
We've covered so much ground in this deep dive.
Yep.
It's amazing how much there is to uncover when you start peeling back the layers of a historical period like the 1840s.
It's like we've gone on an archaeological dig through the culture of that era.
Right. Unearthing all these hidden artifacts and connections.
It keeps coming back to that idea from Raymond Williams.
About how understanding the past helps us understand the present.
He's giving us the tools to analyze the world around us.
It's a powerful concept.
Instead of just passively consuming information, we can start asking questions about the stories we're told.
So if we apply that lens to our own time, what stands out?
What are the selective traditions?
Yeah, what are the
dominant narratives that are shaping how we see the world right now?
Well, that's a question each listener will have to answer for themselves.
But I think Williams' work encourages us to look for those unspoken anxieties, the hidden struggles.
That might be lurking beneath the surface of our own society.
It's like he's giving us permission to question everything.
And to challenge assumptions that we might take for granted.
To look for the voices that are missing from the dominant narrative.
The perspectives that are being overlooked or silenced.
This deep dive has definitely made me more aware of those dynamics.
Me too.
Both in the 1840s and in our own time.
I feel like I've gained a whole new level of critical awareness.
And that's the goal, isn't it?
I think so.
To become more conscious and engaged participants.
In the world around us.
To not just understand culture.
But to actively shape it.
For the better?
It's like we've been given this key.
Yes.
To unlock a deeper understanding.
It valves in the society we live in.
And with that key comes responsibility.
A responsibility to use that knowledge wisely.
To be mindful of the stories we tell.
Yeah, the choices we make.
Knowing they'll shape the future.
Just as the choices of those in the 1840s have shaped our present.
So to all our listeners out there,
yeah,
I encourage you to take what you've learned.
Apply it to your own life.
From this deep dive. Yeah. And apply it to your own lives.
What narratives are shaping your perception?
Yeah, what are the narratives that are shaping your perception of the world?
What are the hidden stories?
Yeah, what are the hidden stories waiting to be uncovered?
And how can you use this knowledge to create a more just and equitable and fulfilling future?
For yourself and for others.
That's a fantastic call to action.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through the cultural landscape of the 1840s.
It's been a fascinating exploration.
I hope it sparked some new ideas.
And insights for you.
Until next time, keep those minds curious and those questions coming.
Absolutely.